Wanna ride with me, catch a vibe with me, go get out with me, yeah. Shawty, I'm a riding G, I'm a die in peace, I'm a ride.
AV-8B Harrier in DCS Digital Combat Simulator. Just going to bring up the communications menu with the slash where it goes from the top left to the bottom right. F8, F2, F1 for electric power. F8, F4 and F2 to remove the wheel chocks. If you want to get rid of the menu along the bottom, left control and Y and it will remove the menu along the bottom. If you want to get rid of the labels, left shift and F10 and it gets rid of the labels. That's everything that we need to do just at the moment, but we also want to bring up this menu with left alt and apostrophe. And we've got here, we're going to drop on a lightning pod. We're going to drop on a GBU-38. And we'll drop on another GBU-38. 2 GPS guided bombs. We've got full fuel, and we'll click OK. Actually, we can change our livery. We'll change it to this and then we'll click OK. Looks a lot better now. We can close our canopy in a little bit. I just want to go into my cockpit and just quickly show you that there's a little box you can put down here. Right Alt, right Shift and 9 on the keyboard. And you've got a little box there. And then of course if you wanted to put on night vision goggles you could do so, but my guy's already got it. But if you need to, just bring up the communication menu. F5 and you can swap between visor or night vision goggles there. So that's another thing just to know about. And then you've got this little box here if you want it. I'm just going to shut that down. We're going to go over to here. We're going to right click on the battery, right click on the engine start. Over on the left side, just going to click over here, Dex on, left click here, and right click on the oxygen, right click on the 2 fuel pumps. And just go up to here, we're just going to left click on the stall and then right click here onto flaps on. That's pretty much the engine started. We're just going to just turn up 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Just down here is another one which you can see. Now if it gets up to here and it stays there, you just need to bump the throttle forwards and backwards and that's going to go the rest of the way. All good, just turn up a little bit of lighting, 1, 2. And then on the other side, all I do is I just right click once here, and then I go and spin this one all the way around. This is in night mode. Right click this one twice, and that's it. And real good. Now, basically we can close the canopy. So left control and C on the keyboard, and I'll shut the canopy up. Next things we're going to look at is just hiding this joystick. So hide your joystick, and it's gone. And then I'm just going to go over to here, turn on the EHSD and just change this to C. You'll notice then it will have come up with some information and it will be bumping away. While we're waiting, we'll just quickly show you some of the commands that I use or controls that I have set up. On my throttle, I have set up this. I have parking brake on and off. I've also got the hide stick and throttle. I've also got a button for the throttle cutoff, and I've also got nozzle rotation down and nozzle rotation up. So that's on my throttle. If you want to, you could also have this TTC action, no action toggle. Then we'll just quickly show you what I have on my joystick. So on my joystick, we've got set up TDC forward, aft, left and right. I've also got set up cage, uncage. And what's also really important is this one, AG target undesignate NWS FAV toggle. You really want to know what that is. What have you got set to that? Then I've also got set up waypoint increment, and I've also got set up the sensor select down. And then over here I've just got sensor select forward, aft, left and right. So that's all of my buttons that I've got going on. Also, you want to make sure you got trim down, trim up, trim left and trim right. And you need your bomb pickle button so that you can actually fire your weapons. So that's all I have set up. There's nothing else. As long as you know where all that is, you're pretty good. Now we'll just keep this going, so it's going to tick away. Just drop our view just a little bit so we can look a bit more normal. We should have our bombs on board now, and we've got the lightning pod on board, so that's all good. We could roll in a little bit. Wheel chucks are gone. We've got our bag there. We don't really need our night vision goggles. But if you hold down left shift and N, you can bring up your night vision goggles. And then what I've got is also set left shift and negative just to change how intense they are, or positive if you want to make it really intense. So yeah, you can just turn it down a little bit and then. But we're sort of coming towards morning at the moment, so left shift and N, and that turns off my night vision goggles. Now, once this menu comes up over here, you're going to left click over here on the middle button, so 1, 2, 3 down, left click, and then up in the top right, 2 buttons down, it has map. Left click that, and it gets rid of the map, and you got back to here, and you can see what's going on. We can go have a look at our stores, so if we click up here on stores, and then we're going to click on the J82, the only thing we really need to change is one left click here just to put it onto instant. We could put on the master arm and the air to ground when we're ready. And that's pretty much it. The J82 is ready to go, just for the moment. We don't have anything else we need to do with that. So we'll go back to our T-pod, hit standby, and then it's ready to go. We can't unsafe it because we're on the ground at the moment. So this is all we can do. We're just now waiting for this to finish. We've got about 49 seconds left, and this is a full alignment on the carrier. Once it's finished, we're going to change this from SEA to IFA, and that's what we're going to do. We can set our timer if we want. Just click on timer, click on stopwatch, and then click it again, and the timer will go along. And you can get rid of it if you don't want to look at it. Anytime you want to look at the timer, you can have a look at that and sort of how long you've been going in the mission. You can see our fuel down here. If you had outboard tanks, so if you had tanks on the wings and the outboard, the furthest one out, then you'd click that and you could see. And then if you had inbound ones on the inner wings, you could click that and then you could see. And then of course we've got none on there, so we're not worried about that too much. You can set a bingo if you want. You could turn these on if you wanted to. We've got no particular need to on this mission, but we've got 0.7 and OK, so that's all finished. So now all we have to do is just switch this all the way around to IFA. We're going to take off the parking brake. We'll get rid of the warning. And the plane will go forward slightly. We could have disconnected the ground power, or we'll do it. We'll just go to ground and say off. We're asking them to disconnect the ground power. In theory they'll do that. Great. So we don't need that anymore, and we can release our parking brake. Now some other things, nose wheel steering and stuff. Down here you've got a nose wheel steering button. If you left click it or right click it once to put it onto on, it'll go into caster mode. You can see caster. It's good for landing and for taking off if you don't want to move left and right too much, or you can just leave it on nose wheel steering. And we need that at the moment. Now one thing is you want to know what your nose wheel steering high button is. So I'm holding it down. Those will steer in high. I'll quickly show you what possibly could be that. On my keyboard, I'm just pushing this button, D, those wheel steering button. But I also have that on my joystick as I talked about earlier, but I use just the keyboard. Sometimes when we're using rudder pedals, we can use the joystick one, but most of the time I'm just using my keyboard button for that. Okay, so we've got our plane moving along, so we can turn, but if you want to turn really sharply, you've got to hold down that button. You can see it turns a lot more sharply. So that's the real advantage of that. Don't really need to go that far back, it's just unnecessary. So we'll just line ourselves up with this. You could change the nozzles, but we can't really damage the plane, so it's alright. It's just a simulation. Okay, so we've got down there, this warning's going berserk on me. We're going to get ourselves ready. When we get towards the end, we're going to put around about 40 to 60 somewhere. One thing you could do if you wanted to help yourself is just set this stopper up, because if you don't actually want to go past 60, you can just put a stopper there and then just hold it all the way, and we'll just go up to 60. We could actually make it 55. That'll be fine for what we need to do. And then we'll get up and off into the air. We've got waypoint 1 over here set. You could also set a course if you need to, just so you remember, but if you know it's heading in this sort of direction at the moment. 6 degrees. I believe the ship is moving. There we go, the ship's moving. So let's get ourselves into the air. I'm just going to release the parking brake, full throttle. Going to reach over because I haven't got my throttle super close to me. And then I can just adjust this. Nozzles. Adjusting the nozzles. We're up. Gear in. We can take it out of stall mode. And we can just re-level this up gradually to 0. And that's it, we're in the sky and we're moving. Can bring the throttle back just a little bit if we want. We can begin to head towards our first waypoint. Now a waypoint we can see by this little marked delineation, the line here. We're going to put that line into this little triangle. So that's what we're going to do. There we are, it's coming across, and then we know it's in that direction, our waypoint. So we'll just keep gaining some altitude, because we're going to want to do a little bit of scanning in a moment, and we can use the altitude to help us out. We can click on designate, and it should put our map here somewhere near that. Now what we want to do is just hold down. Actually, we don't need a code, but if you need to do a code, DMT, click on code, and if you want to put in the code 1677, enter, and you have a code. That's all there is to the code. Clicking the T-pod. Now we just want to zoom in a little, because I can't see anything down there. There's a whole bunch of enemies now. So, if we can, we're just going to change it to the T-pod, hold down. What I'm going to click is this, essentially. Sensor select down switch. You need to click this and you need to click it twice. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to here and we'll try and choose this side of it. Sensor select down twice. We can unsafe it as well. In fact, I can undesignate. Put it on point track. See if we can find something down there. Now we've got a point track. Now once you've got that point track, you want to make sure that you hold down this button, waypoint increment. So once you've got waypoint increment hit, you can waypoint increment that. It'll come over to here, and then this is where it will get interesting. Now we can make a target point. So we can click on here, target of opportunity, target, and we can make it number 2 and hit enter. Okay, so that one's now set. So then we can try and find another one, which we can't do at the moment because we can't see anything, but we'll keep moving around until we can. We'll just fly out into the ocean for a little bit. And then swing our wing around. We'll be able to have a good view. There we go. So we'll just go find another tank in a different row, just so we know it's a different tank. Hold down waypoint increment. Then we want to click on this. Target of opportunity, target point, and then we'll make it 3, and then we'll push enter. Great, now we're just going to go down to here, and we're going to click on stores. Click on our weapon. We'll click on master arm on, we'll click on air to ground. And then we're going to click on up here, targets. And we want 2 and 3. Now we've got some information up here that we can use to try and target these. And we'll spin ourselves around until we can find our target. So it should drop the bombs on 2 and 3 that we marked. So if we were successful, we should see 2 of them destroyed. Keep spinning around. It looks like we're quite close because it's coming down very quickly. There we are. We'll level it up. Now we're just waiting for this to go past the little right triangle, and then we'll have a number. See that number? When it gets to about 100, we're going to hold down the bomb pickle button. That's all I'm doing. 70, 80, I'll try and keep it wings level a little bit, dropping the bombs. The 2 bombs are dropped. If you want to use the autopilot, right click and right click. That's the autopilot explained. And then we can go watch our bombs. We'll see how we go. One bomb and then 2 bombs. Zoom out a little bit. We got that one and we got the second one. Not too bad. I'll just have a little look, and you can see we've got the 2 targets down there separately. Now they've all scattered, but because we dropped the bombs so quickly, one after the other, there he is. He's finally getting destroyed with some of his neighbors. So that was really successful little bomb drop then. And now we can go off and we can head back to base. We've got rid of our bombs, as you can see. So we'll go back to our Tarara. I can swap it back to V-Style. And this little marker, we don't want at 60 anymore. 70 will do. Change this to night mode. Blur. I'm going to head off that way. The clouds look really cool at the moment. We do want to get our altitude way down because it's way too high for us. Probably a little bit too fast too. So I'm just going to drop my speed. Speed brake. Probably something you might need. You don't necessarily need it unless... But air brake toggle. You don't want to bring the gears out, and at the moment I don't want to bring the gears out, I just want to put the air brake out. So there you go. That's that little air brake on the back there. Push F1 on the keyboard, and we'll keep flying along. I I might put this back today just at the moment. We don't need the stores page up at all. We could bring the HUD up. That would be more helpful. Or even that. So we'll have a little look at our menu and map. There's our objective. Pretty cool. So some other things we can get ready. We could drop this into stall mode. If we wanted to, we could put it into landing mode. Flaps are on. We can see our water up there. I'm not doing anything too extreme at the moment. I think the boat's over there. We can go down here and just turn the flare on and DMT on. If we set this alarm clock, but if you haven't used it, you can just whack that. And then, cool thing about this is it glows in the dark, so if it's nighttime, you can always kind of see this thing. One of the few things that are glow in the dark on this plane. You could also turn on this if you needed it to transmit and receive, but we absolutely haven't needed it on this flight. You could also turn up this and this if you needed to, and then you can have your radios working. Keep letting it come down. We're not super high up. We could probably zoom in a little bit and see what we can see out there. It seems to be alright. So we're going to begin to use our nozzles just a little bit. I'm just going to put it to 20. And we've got this here now, so we could get our gear down, that's for sure. We can change this to caster mode. Thank you for watching.